Hello and welcome to another episode of the BCRC show, the show that advocates that BC resources should make BC jobs. I'm your host, Clint Chappell. Before we get started, I just want to thank all the frontline and essential workers who are currently keeping us safe from the terrible COVID-19 virus. Also, we are live in downtown Prince George right now from Hubspace. Thank you very much, Hubspace, for working with us and letting us do our podcast and our BCRC show in here. Thank you guys very much. We really, really appreciate it. And our host, or our not our host, I'm the host. Our guest here today is the CEO of Formula Contractors, Mr. Paul Tiefensee. How's it going today, sir?
Perfect. Thank you so much for having me on.
Well, do you want to be the host?
No.
Are you
no,
sure?
This is perfect. Okay. Yeah, this is. You look nervous enough for the both of us, so I don't want to take over.
By nervous, you meant good looking.
Oh, that's
what
I
it meant. Yeah. So,
or Ryan might be listening.
Right. Well, now you have Ryan's listening. Yeah. No, so let's just jump into it right away, Paul. Sure. Where did Formula Contracting come from?
Well, Formula started by a gentleman by the name of Peter Thwaites. He's from Prince George. Originally started his company in Williams Lake, actually, in 1977 after he graduated from SAIT, Southern Alberta Institute of Technology, with a civil technical degree. He started installing bridges and going throughout the resource industry and doing a very good job, courting really skilled people, and they did a very good job, remained competitive. And just recently, we added another amalgamated company that was a competitor, Andrew Forbes, with Forbes Industrial Contracting, and he was in business since 1995, so 25 years. So I guess the rest of myself and the team are just blessed to be a part of two gentlemen who really believe in entrepreneurialism and share their thoughts and beliefs with us, and have Peter's now passed the torch on, and he's enjoying some of his time with his family, and still being a really good resource for me personally and the rest of our crew. And Andrew's hopefully going to find that in his life as well soon. I mean, we don't want him to go too soon. We're enjoying him, and we want him to stick around as long as he'll stay. But he starts to, he's looking at his life and successorship as well. And then, of course, just recently, this last June, a year ago almost exactly, Mr. Brian Fair and his group bought in as the major shareholder. So myself and Andrew Forbes are the remaining two minorities, and Brian now he's my shepherd.
Well, I can say that he's a lot of people's shepherds, as he, him and my dad go way back. And one thing before we get too much into this, I would love to get Brian Fair on the podcast. I think that's a good form for him. We can bleep stuff. It's absolutely perfect.
Yeah, I think this show, it'd be best on the podcast. Yeah.
There you go. Well, Brian, if you're listening, please come on the podcast.
Please, Brian.
Yeah. You know what? Let's plug the podcast right now. Our first episode was released, I believe, sometime this week, Wrestling with Resources. And the first episode was with Rajpal Fagura. He explained he's an accountant downtown Vancouver. He explained how money kind of flows through the towns as it gets spent with the project. So download it. It's the BCRC podcast. You can find it wherever podcasts are available. We're really proud of it. It's something really cool that we're working on. Also, we've started blogs here in the last couple of weeks. One of our directors, Dan Ray, does an awesome job with all the blogs. So please check those out on our website too. So what type of projects does Formula do? I've heard some stuff about Bear Mountain. Like what are you guys involved with?
So we have since, I guess, 2007, Peter kind of courted me, and we decided to do business together. And what we decided to do with that group was there's a lot of core competencies in the resource bridge industry that were aligned with major projects in a GC format. So we took on some major projects. The very first project probably enabled me to keep my job, because when I first got started, we were actually at Galore, and I went through the pass, had the interview with Peter, and on the way back through in Chetwynd, I heard the mayor of one of the northern communities in the west there saying, they're disappointed that the project just got canceled. So I phoned Peter in Chetwynd and said, before I tell everyone that I'm coming to you, do I still have a job? And he said, oh, no, you got to come now. We got to find something. So him and I decided that before we were trying to, I guess, before I got hired there, we were trying to include the company I came from, Carib Road Services, and they had a general construction side called CC Contracting, and we qualified with Formula to build the Bear Mountain Wind Farm on Bear Mountain. Just I guess when you're in Dawson Creek, it's on the south side of Highway 97, Alaska Highway there. And that's the very first ever commissioned wind farm in province of British Columbia. So we're very proud of that project, and
You should be.
it kind of laid some groundwork for our relationship with the community, the industry, and proved that we were a player, right? And we owe it to a lot of people that helped us out on that job, and we're very, very good. We had some CIF guys up there. We had Tracker out of Fort St. John, and just good old fashioned hard work and taking on a job that normally a larger contractor like a Graham or a Ledcor would do, and we just slammed it. We were 6 months ahead of schedule, allowed and wrecked the wind farm, the towers and the nacelles and all the rest of it ahead of schedule. And I'm a brochure, really. I mean, it's my guys that make me, and the women that work for us that make us look really, really good. And it's easy to sell success. And I guess a shout out to all the people who have work for Formula Contractors. I wouldn't be here talking about this stuff if you didn't help me out so much, and I hope I helped you out as well. Some other jobs we did, we built the last one I think that we're most proud of. One of our past owners, Phil Toma, took that job on as a project manager, and he did a heck of a job. We built the Nuvik to Tuck Highway, and basically we just took care of the structures there, and that was a 4-year project. And we worked up there before. That was actually the very first job I ever got with Peter was Caribou River, just south of Nuvik. It's funny, Caribou Road's to Caribou River, but we managed to get into that industry with partners like Rose and Northwind and Grubens up there, and they managed to put us to work. And we now are the proud erectors of the most northerly bridge permanent in North America.
That's unreal.
Yeah, it's just south of Tuck, and if the guys are listening that were a part of that job, and the ladies, and any of the people up north who I hope tune in soon, I just wanted to say thank you.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah.
So one thing with Formula that we've touched on in our talkings is First Nations inclusion. Is there anything that you kind of want to hit on there with some of that?
Yeah, BC is on the move in this regard. We've all watched legislation being changed, and in terms of the procurement strategies, our company has been blessed immensely by having relationships with several First Nations that have allowed us to be a part of their future, and we thank them for that. And we're also, really, really proud of our staff that are able to provide the stewardship and the skills transfer that we want to have. I mean, our company's looking to grow. I mean, Brian Fair. I mean, we want to grow, and so. Which I really am excited about. I mean, this is like a rejuvenation that I know I look like I'm 28, but I'm 49. So, and I probably look younger than you, actually.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Notice I don't have any gray, and I saw some in your beard there.
Oh, yeah.
No, I'm just kidding.
No, you're not kidding. That's okay.
Yeah, it means you're working hard. But I guess where I'm going with that is that it's just an opportunity for us to, we feel, build sustainability culture into our company that is a lot linked with our core values as a firm in terms of safety, quality. We just look at, I guess, some of the First Nations we work with, especially like McLeod Lake. They have one that's leaving footprints that our kids will see tomorrow. So it's just things like that you start to think about, that you're impressing upon. The result of a project is typically the thing that you see, and how it affects the socioeconomic benefits of the community you're leaving, and hopefully that you remain still a player in there, that you can help to build the next phase, or continue that the people that you've helped to train or skills transfer onto can maybe do the maintenance or phases, and now your company has grown, and not just by individually bookends within your firm, but you've grown a partner. And now when you go on and take on more projects or more opportunity, then you can look to those people to help you.
Yeah.
And I think that's been the most exciting thing, is just that actual skills transfer and growth through partnership and collaboration with our first people.
Yeah, well, honestly, I think it's very important that message gets across to everybody. And And I think that what you're talking about is really community building as well. And I
Yeah.
really think that's something important. But before we get on with anything else here, guys, if you guys have any comments or any questions for Mr. Paul Tiefensee, the CEO of Formula Contractors, please leave them in the comment section below, and we will get to the questions as we go. I'm going to do a couple plugs here, Paul. Okay.
Sure.
So let's make sure we're getting out there on the Instagram page, guys. That's at the BCRC on Instagram. Also, make sure you're going to the Twitter page. We have a whopping 25 followers on Twitter. So, and I know most of you guys watching this and everybody on our Facebook page probably has Twitter and definitely has Instagram. So those numbers should go up. Also, please visit us on LinkedIn. Just type in BC Resources Coalition on LinkedIn and it will come up. And also on YouTube. We're trying to get our own YouTube channel. If we get 100 subscribers on YouTube, we get to have our own URL. And I think that's pretty important. So let's set that up too. And again, find the podcast anywhere podcasts are available, the BCRC podcast, and get to the blog.
Mm-hmm.
One thing I want to touch on here a little bit is how does construction kind of compare from the late 90s area to the early 2000s as far as, you know, safety and everything is concerned? Like, I know that's something big that formula is into.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I'm glad I talked about me being younger than you before you're asking me that
you're
question.
Definitely not younger than me.
I can just tell you that I heard this from people, not that I was a part of it. But what I can say is that I remember early in my career, I started in the career in 1993 after I graduated from British Columbia Institute of Technology. So don't count on your fingers because you probably weren't even born yet. So just take that and minus off your age and your birth date. Anyways, when I first started, there was a big push on safety. And it wasn't just that a lot of people had common sense, but there was people being hurt, right? And so there was policies, procedures, and the like that had to be put into place in order to basically write policy and procedures and get things that would help to add safety to the workplace. I mean, I took a lot of training in those days, and one of the things that I think we should all remember is that that WorkSafe manual that we pack around the act, the regs, isn't just a piece of paper. And the thing that was best told to me to get me to buy into that is it's written in the blood of workers. So when I heard that, my dad being one of the fatalities to the industry as far as a WorkSafe accident or illness, he died of asbestosis from being a heavy duty mechanic. That changed my life as well. So how I look at safety now is that, it's a moral responsibility. But what it did through the 90s to the 2000s, it's very, very impressive that I think it just dawned on me like about 10 years ago, which is, again, probably you were in grade 3. So what
age keeps here going up and down. I'm confused how old I'm supposed to be.
Anyways, what happened is that because we all were so I guess motivated to figure out a way to get this so that it was not only quick to transfer, because the liabilities with some of the bills that went in as far as being a superintendent and the like were so harsh that people could be put to jail, and they just had to make it harsh and fast. So what it did though is it forced our companies to get the buy-in from our workers, because they have a responsibility to this as well. And ultimately what it did is it created a beautiful infrastructure segue of communication that you could use. It opened up communication within the workforce and your employee, not only just within your organization, but the industry. So what we were able to do is use that same segue tramway to deal with other risks within our organization. And that's what we're using that for today. So park safety, it's a moral responsibility. It's no longer a choice or who's best at it or whatever. It's that we all have to work together to make sure that it's not an option. It has to happen. And you know what's following that really closely is environment. Environment is coming up quick too, and it always has been a real big part. But it's some of the things that we have in this province that I'm very proud of as being a contractor that is the most strict probably in the world. I mean, and then follow that with the high quality that we're given with ISO and the risk management and the like. But ultimately, that 2000 era, late 90s, when we really got the push, opened up that nice segue and forced us to communicate, and we're able to introduce and change our companies way faster and better to reduce risk, not just as safety, but safety of the people, but the safety of the firm. And that means safety of the community, because we're becoming more sustainable and able to function in a forum that is open and communicable. And so that's kind of how it's changed for me. Now, what we always joke about nowadays is, and it's not really a joke, it's that we're forced to plan a lot before we go to work, and safety was the thing we used to do. Now we do not only safety, we do quality, we do environment, we do schedule, we do cost, we do risk management, we do social interaction with communities, we do business continuity, which has just come out of the pandemic. What if you get a pandemic and you're in the middle of a huge construction job on an ice bridge and you have to finish the bridge? Like we had that happen.
Yep.
At Talicho All Season Road, we were up there and had to get across the ice, and we had to get back across the ice. So we had to be sure that we had a continuity plan, that if someone got sick, what were we going to do? So these are real things that get put onto you. And I think that, I guess where I was going with that is that we have to basically fill a room with paper to have the privilege to work.
Yeah, no.
So that's kind of where I'm at on that. But
Yeah.
it's fantastic. You can either look at it in one or two ways. You can look at it and say, what the heck do we have to do now? Or you can look at it as, wow, this is an opportunity to actually learn all the disciplines and work as a team to function. And so I think that's the change. Is just the forward planning, the procedures, the processes, and ultimately safety has given us the opportunity, that segue to communicate.
So obviously, in the 90s and 80s, 89, which I was born.
That's the year I graduated high school.
There you go. In the 80s and 90s and 2000s, and now here in the late 2000s, in the 2020s now, forestry always will be and always has been a big part of BC.
Yeah.
But we're needed, as I've said on every show, I really want to pump this into people, is that we're in need of some diversification here in British Columbia.
Mm-hmm.
And with the West Coast Oil Fins project possibly coming to Prince George, BC Hemp possibly coming to Prince George, and hopefully a slew of other projects coming to BC.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure you agree that we need to diversify.
Oh, yeah. We need to look for ways not only to diversify our industry sectors and economies, but we also have to look a way to get some work to stick here.
Yeah.
Like this extraction, ship raw logs, which is, when we first were starting this coalition and I was a starting director, and with the rest of the people in the room, I remember, Willie and the rest of them saying, we got to stop the raw logs.
It's El Presidente.
Yeah, El Presidente.
Yeah. Willie.
Shout out to Willie.
That's right.
Anyways, so I think though that what I've started to learn through this experience, and I think that's the key to this thing, is that you have to be open to learn. And you and I talked about this in the podcast earlier on phase one of the
that was a little nugget that I wasn't going to release yet, but there you go. Yeah, we did the podcast earlier today.
Oh, sorry. Anyways, I'm not sure what I'm allowed to say or not, but I guess I'm not allowed to say that.
No, it's all good.
Yeah. Anyways, where I thought that I went, when I was hearing about the projects, I decided that I wanted to be involved. And bless the people that were motivated enough to ask for others to be involved and start this, so that we could learn. We've been to First Nation major project coalitions, and we've gone to their events, and I've learned a tremendous amount about major projects and how First Nations values align with basically, I feel, not only formulas, but in a lot of ways the BCRC. And so I guess where I'm going with that is that we have to continue to collaborate and see these risks, as people call them, as opportunity. And I talk often with Claytley Tene, Reina and Zatorsky, and she mentions to me that see these things as opportunities, not as risks. And I'm starting to see that, and I'm proud that we have that opportunity. The one thing though that I think that I did when we started looking, I wrote a letter.
Okay.
I wrote a letter to Mr. Horgan, and before I did that, I did some background research, because Mr. Horgan is an educated man, and I think that in a lot of ways he's well spoken and well written, and I just didn't want to look like a dork. So anyways, I worked with my sister-in-law, and she's got her MBA up at the university, and she's in town and educated and a good writer and stuff. So she helped me to kind of find some alignment. So anyways, what she introduced me to was a research paper written by Dr. Greg Halseth. And what it talks about is that to, rather than extract and move to major centers, that there might be a better way, and there is a better way to kind of introduce some value chain opportunities within that path, kind of like upstream, midstream, downstream. And, oil and gas has been doing a really good job of that with their upstream, midstream, downstream, and getting as much out of the product. And who is really good at that is Alberta. And who we need to start talking with a lot, because they're looking to help and they want to get out of this funk and help with other parts of the world, I believe. And if there's anybody out there from Alberta, good on you for showing us a lot of the things that we've learned in the industry. And I'd like to challenge our companies that when we're looking for value added chains, or how to build industry, or how to bring things inside, and not just for the benefit of Alberta, but ultimately the benefit of Canada, I would say that they're champions at this, and we have some things to learn. We're so rich with resources that a lot of the time we look for the quick buck and out. We need to look at how we're going to make some of that stick, and Alberta does that very well. And there's other parts of the Ontario with their manufacturing. And I just think that when I read this paper, I started focusing in on that when I'm driving around and looking at our jobs and talking with people and trying to find more work. That those are the kind of things that make a lot of sense to me. And, I think that's kudos to the coalition, because I think that's the backbone of this thing, right? And,
Yeah, it really is. Yeah, we
Yeah.
really want to make sure that BC resources make BC jobs, and value added is value gained.
Mm-hmm.
And with the West Coast Olefins and the gas line, I believe it's $2 million passes by Prince George
Yeah.
every single day that we can possibly
Mm-hmm.
be adding that, or value adding to that, and creating jobs, creating more communities,
Yeah.
more infrastructure in cities. So I think that's important what you're saying there.
And just to be clear, my shout out to Alberta is legitimate. I was born and raised in British Columbia, so I'm looking to them as a resource, not as I'm not trying to plug it because that's where I'm from. I am from British Columbia.
Yeah, but they've done
Mhm.
so many good things, and there's stuff
Absolutely.
that we can learn from them where they've made
Absolutely.
mistakes, because they've made
Yeah.
mistakes.
Yeah.
But we can learn from those mistakes and grow our province.
Yeah.
And learning from them. So I think that's a really important thing that BC needs
Absolutely.
to realize. We can't be entangled in BC versus Alberta all the time. There's a lot that Alberta can learn from us, and there's stuff that we can learn from Alberta too.
Yeah.
I think that's very important.
Good skilled people, and
Yeah.
and we have them here as well.
And another way that you can kind of correlate those two together is with some of the movements against some of these projects. There's like not in my backyard type movements. Those type of things, they do have legitimate points.
Yeah.
But I really think that you have to amalgamate and talk to those people, and both sides have to be willing to listen, whether it's the left or whether it's the environmental side, or it's the pro resource side. Both sides have to be willing to listen. It can't just be constant bickering and arguing. You guys, we have to come together.
Mm-hmm. No, and that's kind of goes back with the same research that I've looked into, not just with one resource, but others. And when it starts showing value chain and supply chain, but founded on people that are on the left or the right or in the middle, or race, gender, whatever. The more ideas you have, the more risks that get eliminated from the project, and they turn into opportunities. There's another plug for Anna, but I just think that at the end of the day, we're interested in trying to, as a firm and as an individual, which I am an individual sitting on it as a director. I represent Paul Tiefensee, right? So,
Yep.
And that's how much I believe in it, that the sustainability of this economy for my kids and my kids' kids, and all these value added benefits that cause infrastructure to develop within a community are tax bases. And the best thing about living in Canada is the socioeconomic benefits we have, right? So we need to be able to pay for all that stuff.
Awesome. And one other thing too here that I would like to kind of bring up on here. Obviously, we've broken some news on this show a couple different times. We've had some good moments here, and that's another group that that we can rely on too, is the media as well.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we're breaking some of this news, and it's awesome that the media has been so good to us and quoting us and everything. So I just want to kind of give a little shout out to them and say thank you for quoting us properly. And we're in this for the long haul. So I think it's kind of cool that we've been able to break some news on this show.
Oh, that's a really important partnership. I mean, you've nailed it.
Yeah. So one last thing here again, guys, make sure if you have any comments, we're going to be closing it up here pretty soon. So if you have any comments or questions, please leave them in the comment section below, and also join our Instagram page, LinkedIn, Twitter. I'm just going to keep plugging it until we get more people on it. Well, that's my job.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. And one other thing here I want to touch on with you, Paul, is community engagement. And I know Formula is really heavily involved in the community here in Prince George, and I'm sure in other areas too. So let's touch on that for a second.
Yeah, we talked a bit about it. I mean, everybody has their beliefs and core values in community and in life. And I'm proud to say that I'm a Christian, and I practice Christianity, and some of the things that we do in the community are founded on that, because Andrew is also a Christian, and we what we do is we work with the churches, our two churches that we have, and we help in Nest Lake. We've given an honorarium to them for the next 5 years to make sure that there's some kids from lower income housing that can get the benefit of going to camp and enjoying that. So we've given them a commitment for the next 5 years that they can use to plan. And I'll tell you what, during this COVID thing, I'm so proud that they have that, because with some of the programs that they had canceled, they have a lot of operating costs. So we have helped them out, and they help us out every day too, just by, Elliot Harder and the group out there. And we have helped our church, the Lakewood Alliance, and I don't know if you drive by next time, 5th and Ospeaka, take a look. We've renovated that church, and a lot of that came from internal giving and corporations, and we're proud to say that it's just a nice place to be, and it's safe and sound, and we can go and practice our religion. The other project that we're working on that's pretty cool is the Cedars Christian School. We're committed to doing a cost plus just a simple management fee, and manage a lot of local trades as a GC for the school. And they've honored us with the privilege of being able to build that and participate in that community as well. And I want to thank Shane Nelson and Jason Oliver and the rest of the board for that opportunity. I guess where I'm going with this is that there's a mayor's breakfast that happens once in a while through Peacemakers and a few other organizations out there that talk with Mayor Lynn Hall. And then one day Warren Brown came, who is the superintendent of police, and he's retired now. But what we asked him as a group, not we, the people who are running the meeting, kind of like the host when you tried to make me the host, but he was the host. So yeah, the host.
The next show,
Yeah,
hosted
next
by
show.
Paul.
Yeah. No. But the idea there was that we said, Warren, what can we possibly do as a Christian business group to try and help with your community? And he said, you know what, just keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I guess it's just really simple. Love and grace. That's what you have to lead with. Yeah.
So we got a question here from the comment section. It's from Arlene, and her question is: do you think Alberta has been able to utilize their own resources because it is less restrictive for transport than British Columbia is?
Well, thanks for the question, Arlene. A couple things on that. If you're talking about the access to pipelines and infrastructure that are like that, then I would say your answer would be yes, if it goes down to the United States. However, I would suggest that they could do better if we partnered with them, because we have a coast, and we need to get that oil somewhere, or gas, or finished product, to ports. And I would say that we have a lot to learn about the environmental practices and safety practices, quality practices that are in Alberta, so that we can continue to get those online. And it's going to involve the left, and it's going to involve the right, and we're going to meet somewhere in the middle, and we're going to try and get these done. But we need to help them. They basically are landlocked, and they've doing and park that, they're still doing really, really well with supporting Canada. So imagine what we could do as a nation if we had the ability to help them to get product to market.
I think that's a really, really good answer. I think you nailed that one on the head there.
Mm-hmm.
So guys, we're going to close it up here unless there's anything else you want to talk about, Paul. Are you good to go?
No, I just want to thank everybody who tuned in. I want to thank your coalition. I want to thank the directors who are putting in so much effort. This social media thing that you and your group have created is a great traction device for something that we really, really want to support. And Clint, I know that being a young man in this industry, I'm so proud of you and your group for having a way to get this to be a sustainable coalition. And to Willie and the group that have worked tirelessly on this, and the rest of us that have kind of been able to just come in out of the weeds once in a while with some ideas, and you guys take it to task. I just want to thank you for that.
Well, thank you for the kind words. And one thing I will stress to everyone, I am very I'm very privileged to be sitting here right now. And I thank the coalition for being able to put me in this position. I don't take it for granted, because I think it's a very important position that I've kind of found myself in. But it takes a team to do all this, and it's a real team effort. Just because I'm out here in the front talking, there's so many people that are driving me and really progressing the BCRC. And I really want to make sure those people are not forgotten, because those people are just as important as anything that we're doing with social media or anything. So that's going to be it, guys. Okay. So for Paul Tiefensee, the CEO of Formula Contractors, I am Clint Chappell, and this has been the BCRC show.